Good morning, First Parish, Cambridge, Unitarian Universalist. I'm Reverend Elizabeth Nguyen, and really glad to be with you all this morning. I learned that I get seasick when I was at the beginning of a 6-week sailing trip. I knew it was possible, given that about 70 to 80% of people get motion sick. And in the open ocean, amongst storms with swells, sometimes as tall as a building, it's just a thing. But the captain of our boat told us reassuringly, most people adjust after a few days and stop getting seasick. I learned I was one of those very special people who did not adjust after a few days or weeks. I got thoroughly seasick during our entire month and a half on the ocean. Oh, we tried various anti-nausea meds and strategies, but it really just turned out that constitutionally, my body was just not having it. And so in the middle of a really big storm, when our boat was being tossed amongst the waves, even when I wasn't working, I would go above deck in my rain pants and rain jacket and rain boots, clip in my harness so I would not get washed overboard, breathe the cool and fresh air, and every so often puke tidily off of the side of the boat. We had some big storms. We both broke our bowsprit, the front of the boat, in one of them, and had to make an emergency stop in the Bahamas to fix it. One of our watch officers, a very experienced sailor, hurt herself pretty badly out on that same bowsprit in a storm, trying to lash down the jib. The safe harbor that I found on those endless days and nights of nausea and hauling down sails in a delirious, exhausted state was not a physical harbor. There were no physical harbors to be found. We only dropped anchor in actual safe harbors twice that trip. It was a harbor of my own mind and spirit. It was pulling up from the depths of my memory the feel of dry clothes, the taste of saltines in the midst of puking my brains out. It was the steady, true truth that this too will pass, that one day my feet would be on solid ground. And it was, of course, also training my attention on all of the good stuff, the stars at night, the sunrises in the morning, the particular quiet of a boat on the sea with no land in sight. It was the achievement of getting our boat through yet another storm safely. These steady, safe harbors in my mind were what allowed me to embrace the possibility of 6 weeks on a boat and not just be subsumed by the reality of 6 weeks on a boat while seasick. We need those safe harbors, especially in times of stress, to have any sense of possibility. Doctors Emily and Amelia Nagoski, in their book on burnout, use the language of stress and stressors. They talk about the stress as what is happening in our bodies: increased cortisol levels, shortened breath, tense muscles, stomach aches, high blood pressure, not being able to sleep. And then the stressors: patriarchy, white supremacy, pandemic, ableism, living paycheck to paycheck. And they believe in doing something about both the stress and the stressors. I find this really freeing, that we don't need to wait to solve all of our stress until we have the perfect self-care and the perfect meditation practice and the perfect sleep to do something about the big stressors. And we absolutely cannot wait until we transform the big stressors to do something about our stress, even though we're fighting for that each day. On the boat, it was pretty simple. I was not getting off the boat for 6 weeks. The stressors, the seasickness, would not change. So what was I going to do about my stress? I could be seasick on a boat and try to change some of my experience of it. I could try to find some possibilities beyond the seasickness. The wailing Jennies sing, when that storm comes, don't run for cover, don't run for the coming storm. There isn't any use in running. When the storm comes, don't run for cover, don't run from the coming storm, because it can't keep a storm from coming. If you don't know the song, I recommend you look it up. There are so many storms for many of us right now. The storms of life, elder care and kiddo care, life transitions and decisions, economic pressures, the gift, but also what can be the grind of community and taking care of each other, the violence of systems of oppression, and of course, pandemic and climate chaos. And even as we are trying to create a world with fewer of these storms, we have to live in this one. And there will be times when there is no safe harbor on the horizon, no safe place to anchor. And we have to create it within us, around us, between us, while the wind and the rain rage all around. Attachment theory, which the therapists and psychologists and others in this congregation can school me about later, talks about the human need for what they call safe havens and secure bases. A very simplified way of explaining this is that humans, we need people who accept us where we are as who we are unconditionally, a safe haven. And people who support us as we explore who we are trying to become and offer a secure base from which to explore those possibilities. A secure base. A safe haven provides comfort and safety in the face of fear. A secure base is a steady, secure place from which to explore the possibilities. In this theory, which is only as helpful as it is helpful to you, so take what is good and leave the rest. Some people are safe havens and secure bases. Some people are both. And sometimes it changes in different chapters of our lives. When I first heard of this theory, I thought of my many amazing friends and how clear it was to me who were safe havens, people I can vent to unfiltered, who have my back no matter what, and who were secure bases, challenging me, supporting me to take risks and have adventures. And some friends are both. I invite you to take a moment to think of a time when you needed a safe haven, needed someone to meet you exactly where you were and offer comfort. Think of a moment when you found that. We don't always find it, but think of a moment when you found that from a friend, a family member, a therapist, a coworker, a spiritual friend, maybe a pet, or even nature. So grateful for whoever could be your safe haven in that moment. And now take a moment to think of a time when you needed a secure base and you found one. Someone who you could touch base with in a secure way that would allow you to explore possibilities. Could be a friend, a family member, a spiritual friend, a coworker, a group of people, of colleagues. So grateful for whoever could be that. Many of us know the real pain of looking for one or the other and not finding what we need. But even when I don't find what I need, I've learned the power of asking the question, in this moment, which do I need? Do I need someone to accept me just as I am, or invite me to growth? And then seeking out that safe haven or that base. I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, and so I had to cheer hard for Suni Lee, the Hmong gymnastics superstar of this past Olympics. And while watching her unleash her skills on the uneven bars and the floor and the vault, winning 3 medals, I noticed that she would often place her hand on her stomach and take a breath right before she performed. I love that she didn't try to hide it, that she was clear about what she was doing to prepare, that she just gently placed that hand on her center of gravity. You can find videos of her doing this before she won silver or gold. And then she would take off into the air, doing some gravity-defying, incredible somersaults and back roundoffs and all kinds of things. She reminded me of the ways that we can find our own moments of safe haven or secure base when we need them. And the possibilities that are ours when we can find that place of steadiness. Suni Lee reminds me of the simple things I know, but still totally forget to do in moments of stress, of humming, or letting your lips flutter, can support us in moving from flight or fight or freeze. How 3 deep breaths can change my whole outlook. How a cup of tea, warm, or singing a song or listening to a song or smelling an herb or feeling the sun or breeze on my face can shift everything. How hard, deep belly laughter or cathartic crying or getting my heart rate up even for just a minute can be the reset I need. Emily and Amelia talk about how we as humans evolved to need to complete what they call the stress cycle, to physically move through an experience of stress and complete it, to let our body know we are safe on a cellular level. They talk about humans having evolved needing to, for example, escape being chased by a lion or running from a flood, and how our bodies need to know in them, not just in our heads, that the threat is no longer there. And when we're running from a lion, our blood is pumping, our heart rate is up, and we get to, in their language, complete the stress cycle. But when we're in a work meeting and a coworker uses a racial slur, or we realize our boss is listening to all of the men but not the women in the meeting, or when we find out that someone in our kid's school has tested positive for COVID, or when we know that the housework is not being shared equally, we get stuck. There's no running from the threat. There's no embodied celebration of safety. Just our hearts racing in our chest like we're being chased. And often we're trying to stay composed on the outside. And we carry that stuck stress with us. And there's good reason that stress gets stuck. Emily and Amelia talk about chronic stress that never stops. We never get to celebrate that moment of safety. They talk about social appropriateness that says that we shouldn't scream in the middle of a work meeting gone wrong. Or the reality of safety, that it can put us at risk to react honestly and embodied ways in stressful situations. Think of my father, who's a doctor serving in Ohio, and his frustration around COVID there, and how it's in many moments not safe for him to express with his full body, to do the screaming or crying or yelling that he wished he could do about the state of COVID there. The Nagoski sisters offer that physical activity, breathing, deep breaths, laughter, physical affection with a person or a pet, crying, creative expression, slowly tensing all the muscles in our body and then letting them go, can all be ways that we can complete the stress cycle, even when we're not running from a lion and then dancing and singing in jubilation when we realize we're safe. All of these are tools that we can carry with us as our own safe harbors in the storms of the world. Ways that we can try to carve out enough of an anchor to then make space for possibility. I love the hymn, "The Storm is Passing Over." The Detroit Mass Choir does a version you can look up that I adore. Words from it: "Take courage, my soul, and let us journey on. Though the night is dark and I'm still far from home, praise be to God, the morning light appears. The storm is passing over, the storm is passing over, the storm is passing over. Hallelujah." I listen to it a lot these days, even if I don't know that the storm is truly passing over, or more like the storms are here to stay. What I do know is that the way through is the beginning of that hymn. Take courage, my soul. Take courage, find those safe harbors and havens and secure bases within us and in our people that let us journey on, that let us embrace possibility. What I do know is that the morning light does appear. It appears faded, yes, by forest fires, blurred by pandemic, forever changed by hurricanes. But it is indeed there each morning. After Hurricane Ida, from her evacuation location in Georgia, New Orleans Native and Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Sarah Green, preached a sermon on a list of things she knew for sure. As part of that list, she listed how seeds that get planted grow. She talked about planting lettuces and radish early in the year, totally forgetting where they were in the rush of her life. And then amongst the weeds, months later, finding them, still growing. Even as we can create harbors within ourselves, we still get to live in a world where grace pops up and reminds us of its own goodness. Seeds that are planted grow. There may still be a moment of safe harbor that surprises us and offers its comfort to us when we need it most. Put your hand on your stomach, like Olympic gold medalist Suni Lee. Imagine your dry feet and your saltines, like seasick Elizabeth. Find the harbor and the haven within. From that anchor comes all possibilities. Gold medals, ships sailed, the very mundane and the very epic storms weathered. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.